Good afternoon, or it's afternoon for me here. Um, Sorry on Sunday where our meeting got broken a little bit by a problem with Wi-Fi and I was unable to reconnect. Luckily I finished most of the first part of the discussion that I wanted to have with you about the final days and the global mission of spreading the gospel around the world. We talked about how that showed up in Revelations as well as some other um, scriptures, including in Matthew, where it discussed Christ talk with the apostles after his resurrection when they were asking him about when he would return for a second coming. And he said that what would happen before that is that the gospel would be spread across all nations, all tongues, all peoples. And something that all of you have helped me realize is that I believe we're in that now, because many of you, when you started communicating with me in November and December, were contacting me from countries that I wasn't aware that there was very much of a Christian population at all, if any, just because the other religions and cultures there didn't seem to be very friendly to Christianity. So you've raised my awareness and put a new turn on the way that I study the Bible and the things that I research each week as I do my studies. The last part that I wanted to cover with you, the reason why I was in our club room for Saigon Cowboy, was there was a painting behind me that had been done in October to commemorate a special day for a very, very modern martyr in America for Christianity. At that original event that we held, vigil that we held here for people who wanted to come and talk about this young man, I debuted a song that I had written in the weeks that followed his murder. I'm going to play that now and had planned to play it on Sunday. I don't get a chance to practice this song very much, so excuse me if I'm a little hesitant sometimes with it, or if I play an incorrect chord or put a wrong word in there. Good thing is that it's a new song that I wrote, so if I make mistakes, unless I stop and say, ooh, you probably won't know that I made a mistake. After I play the song, I'm going to talk about the young man and about how I think he plays into the lesson that I was discussing with you on Sunday. This will not be a very long section this afternoon, mostly because it is the end part of the lesson that I was covering on Sunday. So we probably, including the song, will be going about 25 or 30 minutes. Unless I get to be too talkative, which is always a possibility. So here we go with the song. I will tell you that I'm in a different time zone than things are back home. It's exactly a 12-hour difference between where I live now and my home state in the U.S. So it's very easy for me to know what time it is if I am reaching out to talk to my mother, because if it's 9 o'clock in the evening here, it's 9 o'clock in the morning there. On this one particular evening in September, I had already gone to bed, and because of my age, usually I need to wake up at least one time in the middle of the night to go to the restroom. And that's usually about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. On that particular night, I woke up at 1 o'clock, which was early, and I really didn't feel like I needed to go to the restroom, but I wasn't able to sleep. And I sat down in my kitchen and just picked up my phone to check to see if everything was going okay there, to see if maybe I was having an intuition that there was an issue. And as I was scrolling through, I started seeing a lot of things in my social media feeds in the news about this young man being shot while doing an event at a university campus in Utah. The young man's name is Charlie Kirk, and we had his painting up behind me on Sunday. And when I posted that we had a Wi-Fi problem, I posted with the photo of the painting that our artist did of Charlie Kirk. That painting will travel with me to the U.S. and will be put in the first shop that we open there as a memorial to Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie, when he was murdered in September, was only 31 years old, young father with just 2 young children. In fact, I think it took a while for the mother to tell the children about what happened to their father. And as it would definitely happen, it would be the same as if my wife was trying to tell our young son Ambrose, who's just 2, he wouldn't understand. And the people that perpetrated this and celebrated this are true evil. If you want to know, does Satan exist? Do demon-possessed people exist in the world? Do a social media search for the people who celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. You will see demon-possessed people. You can see it in the faces, the eyes, the crazy laughter, the dancing, the behavior. Those are demon-possessed people. So the name of my song is Lucifer, which is another name for Satan, smiled, because that was my first reaction as the news eventually came out that Charlie had died from the gunshot. I sat there and I looked at it and I saw these crazy people online. I said, somewhere Lucifer smiled, because this was certainly a very evil thing designed to try to stop the spread of God's word. The people that came out on television news in the United States announcing the death were happy because they mostly support things that are certainly not Christian. That's happened a lot with entertainment and news media in the U.S. over the last several decades. One of the idiots on one of the main channels said, he was possibly hit by a stray bullet from a supporter firing off a gun, like he thought that these were just a bunch of crazy cowboys outside just shooting off guns in every direction. Fortunately, his network saw through the stupidity of that and realized that he had stepped too far and fired him immediately after. But the reactions that were happening a lot were that, he was a racist, he was a white Christian nationalist, he was this, he was that. They put all kinds of hateful names on this young man. And I will tell you, I started following him when he was very young. I think I first noticed his videos coming up on YouTube and Facebook in around 2016. And the thing that struck me about him was that he seemed a little too young to be so full of the Spirit and talking about God and talking about Jesus. And he would go on these university campuses, and in the beginning he had no following. He would set up a table on a campus and sit there and invite people to come and argue with him about the gospel. And at that age in the U.S., especially in the current time, so many young people have grown up not in the church with parents that didn't take them to church, that they've fallen into all of the traps of Satan in terms of the media and everything else, all of the doubt, all of the atheism. And so certainly he had lots of people coming and arguing with him, and some of them were very nasty about it, would throw things at him. And the thing that I noticed about this young man is that he never got angry, he never got violent in return, he never used profanity or called these people names. He would smile and just kind of shake his shoulders and go on to the next person. And when people would, as his events grew and people would come to argue with him, they had so many people they had to start using microphones. Some people were very nasty with him when they would speak to him on the microphones, and he would just be very polite in return. In fact, the only time I saw a video of this young man where he seemed to be a little bit upset or angry with one of the people that was talking to him. The young man that was talking to him was a racist and was saying things that were white supremacist. And Charlie got upset with that. He said, no, we're not going to have that here. Out. Okay? Now, if he was himself a racist, that would be a very strange thing for him to do. But evil calls good evil. Okay? And evil calls evil good. And we have far too much of that in the world today. And this is exactly what our scriptures tell us will happen in the last days. Okay? So these times that we're entering are not necessarily going to be easy times. They can be not as bad if we all do our jobs and spread the gospel and win souls to Christ. And that's what God wants. God wants heaven to be full. And this is something that Charlie's widow has been saying. She's taken on his work and carried it forward, and it's grown magnificently. She's having events right now in the United States saying, let's make heaven full or crowded. And I agree with her. Let's get as many people into heaven as we can. And that's on all of us. And I want to tell you, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. Okay? So without any further, I'm going to try to remember my own song, and I'll perform it for you now.
Cold still whispers on the Charlotte line. A young girl's breath fades with the time. No hand to hold, no mercy shed. Just embers light with the blood on their hands. Oh, Lucifer smiled at the wreckage below, where the rivers run black and the crows all know. He counts every soul that the darkness wraps, and dances slow on broken tracks. Out in Utah the bullets sang, a patriot fell where the valley rang. They defamed him as the news cycle ran, and demons laughed at the blood on their hands. Oh, Lucifer smiled at the wreckage below, where the rivers run black and the crows all know. He counts every soul that the darkness wraps, and dances slow on broken tracks. The devil keeps a ledger deep, with every tear and every weep. He trades in sorrow, deals in pain, and buys the world with golden chains. Oh, Lucifer smiled at the wreckage below, where the rivers run black and the crows all know. He counts every soul that the darkness wraps, and dances slow on broken tracks. Patriots and saints stood through the night, 2 children's tears lost in the fight. The headlines ran, but fury gave way. The widow forgives and turns evil away. Oh, Lucifer mourned all the souls that he lost, and his servants cowered at the social cost. He counts every soul that the light has saved, and the Lord's work goes on today. Oh, Lucifer mourned all the souls that he lost, and the Lord's work goes on today.
Well, I know I made some mistakes, but hopefully you didn't. There's a couple things I did with the verse and the chorus that in my final version, when I do the video, probably will be better. But the message of the song starts talking about, in the U.S., you may not have heard about it in your country because we didn't hear about it until weeks after it occurred. There was a young lady who was an immigrant, a legal immigrant from Ukraine, who had left the Ukraine to escape the war going on there, and was at night in the town of in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, leaving work where she'd been all day and tired, and she was taking a train home. A man sat down on the train behind her, and within minutes took out a knife and stabbed her several times in the neck, killing her. And then he just walked off the train. They had video of this. That's how I knew about it. It was eventually somebody in government that had access to the video in that town was sick of the fact that they were trying to cover it up and released the video. And even then, news agencies in the United States didn't want to cover it because the skin color of the people involved were the wrong colors for what they tried to tell us about how our country is. And so I start the song talking about that because it happened, it got into the news just a couple of weeks before Charlie was murdered. And it was something that Charlie talked about because it was disturbing to him. And he was talking about that on some of the campuses when he would talk to the students, and in some of his videos that he produced for YouTube. If you're not aware of this man, you should probably go and watch his videos. He has quite a library of them, and they do a lot of times link his understanding of the Bible, which is extremely extensive. This young man probably could have quoted the entire Bible from memory, but he ties it in very much with things that are happening in the world. And he talks about how we can avoid certain problems if we follow the Bible, because the Bible says here, here, and here, do it this way. He's much younger than I am, but I look to him actually as a mentor. A lot of what I'm doing now is certainly a result of what happened to him. I was actually hoping that when I returned to the U.S., I would get an opportunity to meet Charlie. I really felt he's from a part of the United States that's not terribly far from where I'm from, and I really wanted to get a chance to meet the young man and see if there was anything that I could do to help his movement. So now I'm taking action and doing it myself. This period that we're talking about at the end time, I think I mentioned before, is called tribulation. This is a period of severe divine judgment. Okay, a tribune, which the word tribulation comes from, is like a very, very serious state court. Okay, well, we've been told that at the end, when we pass on, that the Lord will judge us. And so I believe that we are in this time now. The world is being judged. And we have global distress happening at a level that's just crazy. And of course, non-believers will point to all different kinds of things and say, oh, it's climate change, or it's this, or it's that. And in reality, it's something that was supposed to happen. It's been talked about for thousands of years that it would happen. And most of these things are covered in Revelations chapters 6 through 16. I'm in the process of rereading that now as a result of having done the research for this particular lesson. But the things that are talked about in there are the 7 seals, trumpets, vial judgments, which I think we mentioned on Sunday. Vial, V-I-A-L, ties into how things are created in laboratories, kind of like COVID was, including wars, plagues, and the rise of the Antichrist. It's aiming to punish the ungodly and to purify the faithful. Okay? So this judgment, it's not something for us as believers to fear, as long as we are truly believers and truly living our lives for the Lord. And the main thing that we need to do is we need to talk about this and share this with others. You think about it, it's like we're on a ship that's sinking. Okay? We want to save as many people as we can from drowning. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to reach out to encourage you and strengthen you so that you can help us to reach more people. And, this is not about money. This is not about anything like that or anything worldly. It's about bringing as many souls as we can to the Lord before he passes his final judgment. Because there's not going to be an excuse at the end, oh, I didn't know. Because he has said very clearly in Revelations that the gospel will be spread worldwide. It will be spread to every nation, every ethnic group, every tongue. So there is not going to be an excuse when you stand before the Lord, oh, sorry, I didn't know about you. Okay? Now, you have family and friends or acquaintances or people in your town or village who don't know Jesus. And I know some of you are in places where it might be a little bit scary for you to try to talk out about it, because you could run into some persecution for that. So be wise. Don't put yourselves in danger. But we need to figure out creative ways to share. And it doesn't have to be going out and knocking on doors. When I was a child and would see people doing this, I was always like, okay, should we open the door? Maybe hide behind the curtain, because it seemed to be an annoyance. And I know these people were doing it good-natured, but it seems to me that the better way to reach out and to win souls to Christ is to be a good example of Jesus. And I work hard to try to do that. I'm not always the best example. I make mistakes. I sometimes still use colorful words that I shouldn't use, and I'm working on that. But I try to affect the people around me in a way that makes them happy that they know me, and to want to ask me, why do I do certain things? Like last night, we had a company gathering for, in this country, they have Lunar New Year. And so businesses are starting to wind down for Lunar New Year and for a long holiday. So it's kept me very busy. I was wanting to do this Monday, but I was too busy with preparations for this. But one of my business partners was asking me why he doesn't see me drink beer or wine. And I told him, I said, it's because of this. And he says, oh, are you afraid it'll get in your beard? I said, no. But this is the way it is because of a vow that I made to God. And it's biblical. It's very Old Testament. But there are probably New Testament individuals and people since then in early Christian times that followed the same vow. This is called a Nazirite vow, in which I have made a vow with God for purifying and strengthening myself and setting myself apart. for his service. This is not bragging. This is basically to teach, because some of you may be interested in this. But this gentleman last night was wanting to know why I can't drink alcohol with this. And so I showed him, I was able to do a little research and pull it up on my phone and show him. But basically, during the time that I am in this vow, which is for me based not on a time frame, but on completion of certain things that I want to change in my life for the better. One of those is getting rid of those colorful words I was describing. But during that time, I cannot cut or trim my hair, my beard, or my mustache. It all has to grow. And this has been growing without a cut since November 2023. And the beard has not been shaved or cut since April 2024. So we're approaching 2 years of growth here. But during that time, I need to focus on completing the things that I promised in the vow. I can't have the beer or the wine, to keep everything stable up here, and to keep my heart in the right place and focused on the Lord. And of course, other things as far as cleanliness towards things that I shouldn't touch or to do during this time. A good example of somebody that if you've read anything in the Old Testament that you would know about, would be Samson. Samson didn't make this vow himself. His parents did before he was born, because his mother had not been able to have a child, and an angel came and told his mother that she would have a son. But the Lord required that she enter the son into a Nazirite vow, meaning no cutting the hair or the beard. And so if you followed the story, you know that he had tremendous strength. Part of what I was doing this for myself was to regain my strength after my stroke, because 2 years ago when I started growing this out, I still wasn't able to walk very well. I was very limited in how long I could stand or how far I could walk, and walking was extremely painful because my right leg still really didn't work. Also, I hadn't completely regained use of my right hand, which is very critical to playing a guitar, which was my profession at the time. Okay, so I gave you that as an example because there are things that you may be doing in your life for the Lord that people will find commendable. They'll find to be good things, and they'll want to know more. Well, why do you do this? Why do you say this? And you can share with them without coming and knocking on people's door saying, oh, have you heard the good news? You should live your lives as an example in a way that it makes other people curious as to what you're doing and why you are a good person, or why you're happy, even in times that most people are stressed. And I know that many of you are stressed now. I get the messages. I see some very bad stories. I've been through them. Okay, I've shared that with all of you last week in a post. I've been through things that most people would not come back from. I tell you, with all honesty, I'm thankful. I'm grateful for those things because they've made me stronger in my faith. They've made me understand more about life that people go through so that I can be a help in talking to people and to guiding them more towards being faithful to the Lord. In John 12:23 and 24, Jesus said, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. Okay? The song I just performed for you, I talk about this effect at the end of the song. It was the hardest part of the song for me to figure out and to write, and I did it after I'd actually introduced the song. I changed that part. I was asking myself why this young man, Charlie Kirk, would be killed. Why would God allow that to happen? You know, this is one of the things that non-Christians have a hard time with, is when bad things happen to good people, it makes them wonder, well, why would they believe in God? They weren't protected, or there wasn't some magic shield or something. It's not the way God works. But what I saw happen was a miracle. Within days after his murder, the opposite happened of what the demon-possessed was hoping for. All the people celebrating his death in the minutes and hours after it occurred were hoping that that was the end of his movement, that the young people he had touched that had started to come to Christ would become afraid and run and hide. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. What happened instead is people gathered in thousands and tens of thousands everywhere in the world, not just in the U.S., holding candles, telling stories about Charlie, singing Christian songs. The one that I particularly heard at a lot of these events that I saw online was Amazing Grace. And